Vincent, it's been a year since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Have you seen more support for Ukraine in the past year?
We've seen democracies around the world come together in support of Ukraine, not only in the security sphere, but also the economic sphere, the humanitarian support sphere, and certainly in terms of international support as well, including through international bodies. And so I think it really does show the power of democracies. I mean, Ukraine from the get-go has been a symbol and an inspiration to democracies around the world, standing on the front lines of this conflict that authoritarian regimes have with freedom-loving peoples. And so I think we've seen sort of not only the United States take the lead, but also countries in Europe, especially in the eastern flank, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, really see this invasion of Ukraine as an invasion on their own ideals and their own values and principles. And so I think in addition to what we've seen recently in terms of the tanks, I fully expect that we will see a robust discussion over provisions of F-16s in the near future. And that's in addition to everything, all the sophisticated weaponry we've seen sort of in the last few months, including HIMARS, including other precision strike munitions and so forth. And so there has been conferences and pledges, I think, not only in Europe, but other democracies around the world to think about ways of not only financing, but actually providing expertise to rebuild Ukraine after this war is over. We've seen, for example, countries, including Poland, but also other countries such as Germany, Austria, and so forth. I think there are people that say, democracy, it's a very vague concept. I think what we've seen over the past few months is it's not a vague concept. It's a very strong concept, and it's a concept that has brought a lot of tangibility to Ukraine, and I fully expect that these types of support will continue as time goes by.
Just coming back from the Munich Security Conference representing Taiwan, Vincent, what have you seen in terms of parallels drawn between Taiwan?
I think there's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences between Taiwan and Ukraine, and certainly our geopolitical position is a bit different. I mean, we're an island. I think we have robust self-defense capabilities. I think there's a understanding, I think, that Taiwan's security is directly correlated with the security of the Indo-Pacific region and to the United States. And so in that respect, I think Taiwan does enjoy some advantages that Ukraine in the past has not seen. But with that being said, however, there is enormous similarities as well, and both of us face authoritarian neighbor, and both of us struggle with this neighbor presenting an existentialist crisis, I think, to existence of our countries. And so to that respect, what we saw in the Munich Security Conference is that yes, there is enormous, I think, support for Taiwan's democracy. I think there is a vested interest by countries around the world, including Europe, to support the maintenance of peace and security across the Taiwan Strait. I think what I would personally like to see a little more of is the Europeans focusing and bringing forward a bit more resources on European security and allowing the United States to focus a little bit more on Indo-Pacific security. So, I do think there should be a more clear division of labor to say, but at the same time, that's not to say the United States should not be invested in Ukrainian defense. The Europeans should not be invested in Taiwan's defense. I think quite the contrary. I think it is incumbent on all of us, including countries in Europe and the US, to find the best ways of ensuring peace and stability anywhere in the world.
Taiwan, as a fellow democracy, can it do more for Ukraine? How do you feel both countries can cooperate going forward?
I think we've been fairly helpful on Ukraine. I think compared to many other East Asian countries, I think Taiwan is right up at the top there in terms of the assistance we've provided, not only through official channels, but also through civil society and NGOs. And I fully expect that this sort of assistance will continue. We've seen rallies for Ukraine here in Taiwan that have been well attended by politicians of all political stripes. And I think that goes to show that it is really a bipartisan issue, and hopefully it continues to be a bipartisan issue here in Taiwan. In terms of what more we can do, I think we continue to be acute to the needs of Ukrainians, particularly as we're currently in winter now. And so I'm pleased to see we've donated power generators and other equipment. I think we'll continue to be acute to their needs after spring and after hopefully the war is won sometime in the near future. And so I think Taiwan can play a pivotal part in the rebuilding, particularly of IT infrastructure, of new and emerging industries and so forth. At the same time, I do think that caution has to be exercised in terms of the Taiwan Ukrainian relationship, only in the sense that we understand that Ukraine is in a very precarious state right now, and certainly I think it's in nobody's interest to get China further involved in supporting Russia. So, I think that the development of our, Ukrainian Taiwan relationship, has to be very circumspect in a sense that we certainly want to do what is best for Ukraine. So, I do think there's a lot of ways we can move forward on this relationship, economically, in terms of humanitarian assistance, in terms of rebuilding assistance, and I'm fully, I fully believe that Taiwan is committed on each of these fronts.